You have almost certainly used one of these, ChatGPT, Gemini, or Copilot, where you type a question and what comes out usually is a fluent human sounding answer, and that too within seconds. But have you ever stopped and thought what's happening inside? How does a computer even write like a human? Hello दोस्तों, welcome to Developer Forum. My name is Mayank. The answer is LLM, large language model. And here's the good point. The core idea behind it is surprisingly very simple. Once you get it, these tools will stop feeling like magic and will make sense to you. So let's quickly dive into our computer screen. So right now we are onto our computer screen. Let's start the session. Let's start with the name itself because it tells you almost everything. LLM stands for Large Language Model. Three words. Let's take them one at a time. Large. These models are trained on enormous amount of text and they have a huge number of internal settings. Often billions of them basically that get tuned and more fine-tuned during the training part. The more larger the data it learned from, the more larger will be the size of the LLM. Second is language. It works with text, words, sentences, code, anything written basically. That's its whole world. And third is model. In machine learning, a model is just a system that has learned patterns from the data. Remember from the last video, machine learning find patterns instead of following the handwritten rules, right? And LLM is exactly that focused on the patterns of language. So put it together becomes a large language model, which is a system that learns patterns of written language from a massive amount of text. That's the plain English version. Now let's look at the one clever trick that makes it work basically. Here's the part that surprises most people. At its heart, an LLM does one thing. It predicts the next word. That's it. Basically, you give it a word and it predicts most likely the next coming word. It predicts the next word based on its pattern recognition technique. Then it adds that word, looks at everything so far and guesses the next one and repeats this process again and again. Later, it strings those guesses together and you get full sentences, paragraphs, and whole essays. Think of the autocomplete of your phone, but far more powerful. If I say the sky is, your brain already jumped to blue, and the model does the same thing. It has seen so much text that it can estimate after the sky is, the word blue is very likely. So here, clear is possible and falling is unlikely. It's genuinely doing that one word at a time at incredible speed. When you ask ChatGPT a question, it's not looking up an answer in a database. It's predicting word by word what a good answer would sound like. Now, a fair question. How can something so simply write code, explain topics, or hold a conversation? That's where the large part earns its name, and it's the next thing we will look at. To predict the next word, well, the model first had to learn, and the way it learned is by reading on a scale no human could ever do. During the training, it was shown gigantic amounts of text such as books, articles, websites, code, conversations, and etc. other stuffs, and its practice exercises was simple and repetitive. Generally takes a sentence, hides the next word, try to guess it, then check the real answer and then adjust slightly. And it do that billions of time basically. Now imagine a student who read a huge chunk of everything ever written and after each sentence tried to predict what came next, correcting themselves each time. After enough practice, they would get very good at knowing how language flows. That's what an LLM is.
All those tiny adjustments repeated at massive scale is what training means. It's not memorizing the text word for word, it's absorbing the pattern of how language works, grammars, facts, tone, and the way ideas usually connect. One quick technical detail that clears up a lot of confusion: the model actually doesn't work with whole words, it works with tokens. So, what is a token? A token is a chunk of text, sometimes a whole word, sometimes just part of one. The word cat might be one token. A longer word like unbelievable will be splitted into the pieces. For example, unbelievable may become un plus believe plus able. Question is, why does this matter to you? Because it explains some of the model's quirks. It's why an LLM can sometimes miscount the letters in a word or stumble on very unusual spellings. It's not seeing the letters the way you do, it's seeing the tokens, and when a tool talks about limits, it usually counts in the tokens, not the words. You don't need to think about tokens to use these tools, but knowing they exist helps explain why the model behaves the way it does. Now, here's the part that's most useful in our daily life. Since the model just continues from whatever text it's given, so the text you give it matters enormously basically. And that input is called your prompt. Vague prompt can give you a vague generic answer, but a clear or specific prompt gives you a far better one. This is the whole skill people mean when they say prompt engineering, and it's less mysterious than it sounds. There are a few simple habits which can help you go a long way. Give it a context, tell it who it's for and what you are trying to do. Be specific about your format you want, like a list, a short paragraph, or a table. And if the first answer isn't right, don't start over. Just tell it what to fix, and it continues from that conversation itself. So the model brings the language ability, but you bring the direction basically. The clearer your instruction, the better the result. That skill worth practicing because it applies to every one of these tools basically. Next is we can see what LLMs can do for you. You can write and draft the emails, post, documentation for your immediate client related works or your personal works basically. Then you can summarize the email, summarize the meeting, or basically the long text into the short answer form or maybe a different form as per your choice. Then you can use the LLMs for translating one language to another language, and definitely it can answer your question on any particular topic. And then you can write and explain the code from the LLM, where it can help you draft the code, debug it, and help you learn the parameters of the business functions or the working of the entire code as well. And then for the brainstorming ideas for your business, your content creation, or whatsoever you want, you can reach out to LLM as well. So you can use LLMs for doing incredibly useful tasks. Now, the next honest part, because using these tools well means knowing where they fall short. First and most important is an LLM can be completely wrong because it predicts what sounds right rather than the looking up the facts. It can state something false with complete full confidence. People call this a hallucination, which is sometimes also known as AI hallucination. So always double check anything that matters, such as the names, numbers, codes, or codes. Second, it doesn't truly understand. It is modeling patterns in language, not thinking about the meaning the way you do. It can produce a brilliant sounding answer without any real grasp of what it's saying, basically. And third, its knowledge has limits. A model is trained up to a certain point in time, so it may not know recent events unless it's been given a way to search it. And it learned from the human text, so it can carry the biases as well in that text. But none of these means the tools aren't useful. We have seen that they are incredibly useful. It just means that you stay in the driver's seat, use it as a powerful assistant, and keep your own judgment switched on always. So let's pull it together. An LLM is a large language model, which is a system that learned the patterns of language from a massive amount of text, and at its core, it predicts the next word over and over to produce the fluent text. You steer it with a prompt and you stay alert with its limit basically, because it can be confidently wrong. It doesn't truly understand and its knowledge has a cutoff. And here's why it matters for you. These tools are quickly becoming a normal part of how developers work now. Writing the code, learning new concepts, debugging, drafting, understanding what's happening under the hood means you will use them far more effectively than someone who treats them as a magic, and you will know exactly when to trust them and when to verify. If this made LLMs finally click, that's the whole goal of this channel. Clear, calm explanations with no hype. Subscribe to follow the rest of the AI playlist. Take care and I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you guys for watching my video, and if you found it helpful, please subscribe to Developer Forum, and I will see you guys in the next video where I will discuss about prompt engineering.